John Eustace gave a tiny Derby County transfer update yesterday during his pre-match press conference, and it was a really interesting one concerning some of the rumours and reports which have been going about across the course of the last couple of weeks. Now, those of you who don't know, the likes of Max Johnston and Lewis Travis are rumoured to be heading to Derby County, but ultimately we have no legitimate news sources for them. Now, it was reported a few days ago by people within the Derby County forum that Max Johnston had potentially agreed a fee and would be joining to Derby County across the course of the next few weeks. It's also been rumoured within that exact same forum that Derby County would be signing Lewis Travis across the course of the next few days, and Blackburn fans would not be happy. Now, ultimately, there is no legitimate news. There is no reports to suggest that either of these deals are happening, but we're going to take a look at why A, one deal may not happen, and B, why the deals probably aren't in the works as we are anticipating based on these rumours. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, let me know your thoughts down there. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. I think I'm going to do a live stream around 6 to 7 p.m. this evening to go through the transfers, look ahead to Stoke and all things like that. So if you do want to join that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, and you'll get notified when we do go live. I'll also be posting it over on my socials, so make sure you go and follow me over on Twitter and things like that. Now, shall we get into the transfer news? Now, obviously, for Derby County, it's been a very interesting few weeks in regards of transfers and players that could be joining, players that could be moving. We obviously had a double move be confirmed just a few days ago with Dion Sanderson and Bobby Clark, and ultimately, does that shut down one deal? Now, in the press conference yesterday, John Eustace was asked about the right-back position and the defensive areas, and he sort of said that it's not necessarily a priority anymore. That was essentially what his words were. Now, ultimately for me, I don't think right-back was ever really a priority, because you look at the numbers we've got in that position. Langas can play there, Nelson, Wilson, Niambi, Rooney. Worst case scenario, you could probably put in... Obviously, you could go to a back five and place like Jackson at right wing back or something. So there's plenty of different options in that position. Now, obviously for Derby County, does this then shut down the move that has been made over the course of the last few weeks to try and bring in Max Johnston? Now, obviously that signing of Dion Sanderson is a player who can play at centre back, is a player who can play at right back, and I'm not going to turn around and say that the move is completely shut down. I think I replied to someone yesterday on Twitter in regards to this, saying that essentially now it's not a priority to go out and get Max Johnston. We can assess our options in that right back position across the course of the next 6 to 12 months, obviously heading into January and then into next summer, because we could buy Johnston now, for example, for £2 million, and then in a year's time we may end up getting promoted. We could end up being relegated, and then ultimately, those same players that we've bought this window then move on to pastures new, and we end up in a situation where we don't exactly have what we need anymore, and we've got to replace them again. So it's one of those where I don't think we're going to have to force through that Max Johnston transfer, and maybe it's one that now won't get done across the course of this transfer window. But obviously, it's an interesting one to discuss, because as much as I don't think right back has been an important position to cover, I understand why we've been looking in that area. It was obviously one of the first links that we got this summer was in regards to Cody Drummer, was the first bid that we had rejected. I think it was back at the end of May when Derby County made that bid for Hull City's right back. And obviously we've had a few offers in for right back since then, obviously the latest one being Max Johnston. I don't necessarily think it's case closed, but I also don't think that the deal is going to be as rushed as maybe we anticipated. It might be one that gets done later down the line. We also have the circumstance in regards to Lewis Travis. Now, obviously, Lewis Travis is a player who we've sort of been looking at and assessing across the course of pretty much the entire transfer window. But as it stands right now, I don't believe that any deal has been agreed. I don't believe that any fee has even been put forward. I don't even believe that Derby County have actually made a bid, if I'm completely honest with you, because from what we've seen based on reports, I just don't think the situation is there, if that makes sense. We've had no reports of a bid. We've had no reports of even realistically, we've had no reports of Derby even inquiring in regards to that of Lewis Travis, which obviously it's one of those which is, it's always difficult to sort of judge where we're at and where sort of the move is potentially going to come from. But I think the important thing is for Derby County and for our fan base that we sort of keep eyes and ears on targets. Now, I don't necessarily think that central midfield is a priority. I think that with the arrival of Bobby Clark, we've got loads of options in that midfield. You've got Vyman, Brewster, Clark, Kenzo, who can all play the 10. Obviously, Adams has played in there as well. You've then got behind that, you've got Ozo, Osborne, Thompson, Adams, Clark can sit deeper, Kenzo can sit deeper. So there's so many options. You can even add Rooney into that pile as well. So there's so many options within those positions that I just don't necessarily believe that a central midfielder is necessarily needed. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that some players will have to move out, which then maybe opens up the door for a Lewis Travis move. But obviously, at the moment, none of those players have moved yet. And if we do look at sort of the depth and things like that, and we look at the registration numbers, I believe Derby County have 24 players who need to be registered for this season if goalkeepers don't need to be registered, which ultimately then means we have one slot available, which makes it very, very difficult to sort of make a lot of moves in regards to what John Eustace wants to do. I think he said in the press conference yesterday he wants one or two more in the building, which obviously that would require someone moving on or someone not being registered, but obviously we don't know who that is. I imagine Curtis Nelson probably won't be registered straight away, as sort of we wait to see if he comes back, because you can obviously add players to the list across the course of the season. I think the registration window sort of closes around October, November for the summer window, and then obviously it reopens again in January, and then shuts again around March time when the free agent window essentially closes. But it's one of those for me where there's obviously a lot that we can sort of talk about in this regard, and obviously for Derby moving forward, it's got to be the right moves. It's got to be the moves that make sense for the club and what actually give Derby County that sort of step forward. Now, I don't know whether that is a move for Lewis Travis. I don't know whether it is a move for Max Johnston. Obviously, not necessarily my decision to make either. Obviously, it's a decision that's going to be made by that of John Eustace, and hopefully across the course of the rest of this transfer window, which I believe we have about 3 weeks of, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops and see how quickly Derby County can sort of move through the circumstances that they're dealing with. And it's not necessarily, obviously we don't have restrictions, there is money still left in the pot according to that of Dom Dietrich, so we're sort of in a position where moves can still be made. And if that is a move for Lewis Travis, it's obviously not one that I'm going to be disappointed about. I think he's a very good midfielder at this level, and if you sort of listen to what John Eustace had to say in the press conference, or you checked out my video sort of reacting to everything he said, his aim by the end of this season is to have this team being less direct and a lot better in possession. And I think if you look at that, it looks at a moving away from players like Ebo Adams and moving towards more technical players like a Kenzo, like a David Ozo, like obviously a Bobby Clark and things like that. And that's obviously something which is going to take time to develop. It obviously needs patience, and bringing in a player like Lewis Travis obviously adds to that development pathway as well. But obviously you can let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. We will be live later on today between 6 and 7 to discuss the transfers and all the updates and things like that, and any questions that you may have in regards to that. We'll go through the depth, we'll look ahead to tomorrow, and we'll just see how it all shakes out. Obviously don't forget we will be live Saturday as well around 2:30 for obviously Derby County versus Stoke City, the opening game of the season. But if you have not done so already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.